I love how your little naked statue is like positioned at
She's
face
ready.
down, face
Ass up. She's thick. This is my body, my goal body.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Butterfly Effect podcast. I'm your host, Liana, and today I'm joined by my friend from high school, Kara.
Hi.
What's up, what's up? Me and Carol have been friends since 10th. I was in 10th grade because that's when I moved to Maple Grove, and we met through cheerleading.
Yeah.
And so then we're gonna kind of talk about like our journey of our friendship, and then get into her life a little bit. So this is gonna be a very good episode. Get comfy, cozy, get your blankies. Oh yeah, if you want to use the blanket, I always use mine.
It's my comfort blanket.
Exactly. I just feel like so much more comfier, and I want, the vibes are right with blankies. So make sure you guys grab yours, grab your cup of whatever you're drinking, and let's get into it.
Key though, I was really disappointed to hear that you guys moved back to Minnesota. I thought you guys were living your best lives out in Chicago.
We were. That's the thing. We really were living our best lives, but then she got pregnant and like the cat's out the bag. I don't know if you guys knew that. She got pregnant, and obviously it was just easier to be surrounded by family. Like, she was by herself. She had me and like other people out there that she made friends with, but it's just different when you have a child. I'm sure you can speak to that, like
grandma and grandpa and
just the help you need. It's just a lot on one person. So for her, it made sense 100% to move back, and I ended up staying a little bit longer. I got in a relationship, and then I moved in with him. That was the first time I lived with a man. And the last.
I feel like you're too independent for that.
The things I'm such a lover girl, but because of circumstances and relationships, I've become very independent. Like, you know what I mean? So I'm like, my standards are up to here. So if I'm going to move in with a man, it's going to be serious, because I'm not doing that again. Like, the first sign of disrespect, I was out of there. So I don't play those games. And then at that time, I was like, I might as well just move home now, because finding a one-bedroom apartment was so expensive in Chicago.
Yeah.
Like, on what I was making at the nonprofit, it was just not a good time. I just needed to come home. And honestly, it worked out. I got this place. I didn't even see it before I got it. I just zoomed toward it, and it worked out. So,
oh my gosh. Yeah. Good find.
I know, honestly. And I got it at a cheap time because it was in December and nobody was looking. So it worked out. Right time, right place. It was perfect for me. But let's go back to high school.
Yeah, high school.
What do you, like, okay, when you think about high school days, how do you look back on it? Because personally, I'm like, like, there was so much fun.
Yeah.
We had a lot of fun, but overall,
cringe.
Yes. Ooh.
Bomb squad.
Oh, yeah.
Oh my, and then it was like the most like irrelevant things were like upsetting. Like, oh my god, did you hear that? What was it? Like 3 of you made Bomb Squad shirts, and we're like, wait, they got Bomb Squad shirts and we didn't get Bomb Squad shirts?
Let's give them some more context. So,
I'm like, I think it was you and Jordan and
Nikki got them for us, so we blame Nikki. Nikki got them, I'm pretty sure. And if I'm wrong, my bad, Nikki. But I know, I'm pretty sure she got them when she was on a trip somewhere. But basically, where Bomb Squad originated was we were all on the cheer team together, and as when you're on team sports, you have people that you gravitate towards naturally. And we had a subgroup within the larger team. Yeah. We didn't mean any harm by it, but it ruffled a lot of feathers. Like, other athletes were getting mad. The coaches were mad. They're like, what's this, Bomb Squad? And we just named ourselves that because everyone had, like, kind of group names at our school. Like, the boys, or, like, there was just, like, different groups that had just names. And so we made one. I don't know how Bomb Squad got chosen, but that's what it was. And I think we even had like a Facebook group at one point.
Did we?
Yes. We had
scary.
Yes, a Facebook group message, and then eventually it worked its way up to t-shirts. Yeah. But you didn't get a t-shirt?
No.
Ooh, Nikki. Wait, tell me what your thoughts were for real. Like, what?
I think, like, at the time, I don't know, I think it was like, well, like, what's like the deal? Like, what's their problem? Like, why didn't we get one? Like, I don't even remember. Like,
so
why was it such a big deal? Because now, like, if someone did something, I'd be like, okay.
Right. But that's how it is in high school.
Like, what am I gonna get for dinner tonight?
Next. Like, I don't care. But our brains weren't developed at that point.
I know. It was just seriously high school. Like, when you think about your problems in high school and now, it's like,
I know. I wish what I would do to go back with like how I carry myself and my confidence I have now. Back then, I would have been unstoppable, but I was just like riddled with anxiety.
I'm like, I wish like that I had like not like I wish like that was like the only thing I had to be anxious about. That someone didn't get a T-shirt for me for our little made up group.
The stress I would have about studying for a test, like that's all my responsibilities were.
Yeah,
studying for a test and clapping my hands on the right count. Like, wow, what a life we lived back then.
I mean, I didn't even do my laundry. Like,
you didn't? When did you start doing your laundry?
I think, like officially, like
officially,
like
2
all
weeks
ago when I moved out when I was 20.
Dang, really? Well, that's a blessing.
Well, yeah,
I mean,
because it was at the end of the hall. My parents I didn't move out till I was 20. I was like, end of the hallway. I was like, if it made it in the laundry basket. Now I know why my parents were like, put it in the basket. Like, we are doing everything. Put it in the goddamn basket.
Isn't it crazy the perspective you get once you move out and start living on your own? Like,
Yeah.
oh, I see why you just asked me to do the dishes. Like, oh, I see why you, like, the little things your parents would ask of you were so annoying back in the day, but now I'm like, why couldn't I just do that to make their life easier?
Taking the roast out for mom before she gets home from work.
Oh my god!
Out of the freezer.
Those memes when you're like, when you forgot to bring out the chicken. You're like scrambling. But that's real. Like, we were thinking like that. We didn't get it. We didn't understand it. So what path did you take after college or after high school then? Because that's where you were a year older than me.
Yeah. I went to North Hennepin.
Yep.
The same year. So I started when I was 18, and I went briefly for nursing, and I don't know. I just felt like I always was told that I was gonna go to college, and I just felt the pressure was on, and like part of me was like, I don't think I had the level of maturity that, I needed. And it's nothing to do with like my parents. Like they couldn't have done anything more. They gave me all the tools. It's just I lacked a lot of motivation and maybe confidence, and I just thought that I had all this time, and I was like, screw this, I'm gonna drop out. Stopped that for a while, just kind of worked, kind of floated around, and then I went to dental assisting. I dropped out of that really quick.
Why?
Teeth are another thing. Oh my gosh,
They're
it's
nasty. Oh.
No, like I didn't even make it into like a clinic setting. Like just learning like the teeth, like numbers and like letters and stuff. I'm like, oh my god.
He said, not for me.
Not for me. So I mean, I kind of floated around jobs. Like I had a serving job. I mean, I've always worked with kids, like as long as I remember, and right now I'm working with kids.
That's right.
If I were to go back to college, I think I would go back and get my early child care education degree.
Do you think it's necessary for what you're doing now? Or like to advance if you ever want to?
It depends, because right now I'm working at a nonprofit like child care center, and I'm a pre-K teacher. Like I want to get my CDA license or whatever, and it's different than getting your early child care degree. So I wouldn't be able to work in like a district job, but I could still be teacher qualified in like a daycare setting, and I could definitely get a decent pay bump. I just have to
do it.
Take the time and do it. And I'm like, I don't know why I'm still putting it off.
Well, you have a child and you're a single mom, which we're going to get into, but like that's a lot, period. Yeah. So adding on to that, I can understand why it's not like at the top of your list.
Yeah.
I like that you talked about how you went through different jobs, because like that was my experience, except I was in a college setting. So I was changing my majors left and right. And I just feel like the whole system and how it's set up is stupid. Like I think you should do the route you did, actually, like going and actually getting real life experience, unless for sure you want to be like a doctor or a lawyer, and like that's for sure what you want to do, and school is a must. I think people should just go experience life and try jobs and see what you like, see what you don't like, then use that to go back to school and get a degree if it's necessary. Yeah. Because all these kids are getting in so much debt, myself included, and if I knew I was going to be doing this, I would have chose a whole different degree or went to a whole different school and saved money. Like, yeah.
Well, and I'm like, I wouldn't suggest going and dropping out. I would suggest waiting.
Yes.
And working.
Yes.
And then going.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Did you feel any like type of comparison, or like was that a factor in your life at that age when you're like not going the traditional route that everyone else from Maple Grove did?
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, especially considering my brother like I love my brother to death, and we're two different people. I mean, he went to the U, graduated with high distinction and like summa cum laude, and then he went on to post-grad at UC Berkeley, like, you know, and he's got a PhD, and I'm like, oh, I'm just over here doing me.
I remember you always saying like he's super smart. Like I don't know if I ever actually met your brother because he was out of the house by the time I was always at your house.
Yeah.
But I remember you always saying he was so smart, and like that had to be a lot to like kind of follow in his footsteps. Like, did you feel your parents ever compared you in that way?
I don't think that they necessarily compared me. I think maybe just the frustration was there for them because they're like, how? Like,
he
in
gave
what
you the
world
blueprint.
they're like so different. And I mean, I feel it too because I'm like, am I adopted?
Be real. Come on, let me know. No, I think each child's different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
God, I feel like I just flip-flopped everywhere, and it's like I didn't have a solid job that I was at for like a long standing. And I don't know if a lot of that tied into because I was like, my mind was on having fun and like drinking and boys and all that other stuff, but I just think I focused on a lot of the wrong things.
But we all are doing that at that age. Like, it just looks different. Like, if I would go back and be honest about my college time, a lot of it I was partying.
Yeah.
Or blacking out, like, so unhealthy. And, like, I was in school because I had structure and I had to show up to the class and I knew what I was supposed to be doing. But I was having fun, too. It was just in a different setting, I guess you could say. So I think that's, like, the young 20s, your early 20s, you really are being, like, very wild for the most part.
I think when me and Nikki and Michaela went to visit you guys in St. Cloud and I got lost one night and some girls found me in front of Chipotle and they brought me back to your dorm. It was so
Halloween,
sad.
wasn't it?
I think it was.
Oh, no. I'm sorry. First of all, what the hell?
No, I think I got myself lost, and then somehow along the way, I don't know exactly what was said, but the next day, like, I tried to say something to Nikki and Michaela, and they were like, just don't talk about it. Like, just don't. And I was
really?
Like,
oh, no. The days after, that anxiety of, like, what did I do?
What did I do?
Because we were not, like, drinking responsibly. Like, it's so popular, or, like, what's the word I'm looking for? It's so
Binging.
normalized.
Like people literally have drinking games,
taking shots.
Yeah.
Like, after being a server and getting alcohol certified, I'm like, oh my God, the way I was, that's not okay. Like, I was really drinking to not remember.
Yeah.
And that is not okay.
I know.
But that was the norm.
It really was.
Scary. So one thing we talked about when we were talking about making this episode is talking about addiction, which thank you for being open to talk about that, because it's everyone, a lot of people deal with it. I can't say everyone. I know I deal with it. My family has dealt with it. So it's a very important topic to me to share about, because it's not anything you should be ashamed of. More people than you know struggle with it if you're listening to this. So can you kind of talk to me how you got into that, or like how you started to recognize that and how that started?
You know, I think I struggled with heavy drinking pretty much all of my 20s. And I think when it really kind of started to blow up was like I turned 21, and then it's like then you go out and you can have drinks, and then you can have happy hour, and then it's like that becomes kind of a normal thing, like, oh, let's go meet up for drinks after work. And it kind of starts as like small innocent things like that, and then it's like, oh, you know, we're young, we're going out, you know, we can just get a lift, we're riding responsibly, this is fine. And then it's like you kind of start getting to the phase where it's like you keep drinking more and more, and then the next day you're hungover and it's like, oh, shotskis or brunch. And like you start really just kind of getting lost into like how much you really are drinking and like how much you're making excuses for yourself. Like, I had a long day, like I need to have a drink, or it's been a busy week, I need a drink, or, you know, like I had a great day, let's go have a drink, or I had a really bad day, I need a drink.
The way it's socialized, it's embedded into every facet of our lives. Like, that's so real. Because when we cheers to good things or to bad things, or you just want a nightcap and watch a movie, it's always in it's embedded in everything we do.
Yeah, or it's like, what's the problem? I'm just having a drink. Like it's no big deal. Like, there's like always an excuse to do it. And tie that in with like mental health, like depression and anxiety, and then it's like it just becomes this habitual mess. And then I don't know, then you start to kind of hear from other people, like especially like your closer friends and like family. It's like, well, are you sure like you're okay to drive? Or, oh, like have you been drinking already? Or
those little notes.
Yeah, and then it's like you kind of start to get on the defense, and then it kind of starts becoming something that you start to like hide a little bit, and like you almost don't see it as a problem still even then. And then it starts to become like a really obvious problem, like when you're getting blackout, and then you start hearing more and more like you're not like it, like I don't know, I think back in the day, yeah, a lot of times I was the fun drunk, and then I started becoming like a mean drunk, and that person like where it's like, oh my god, what did I say, who did I text, like you just wake up if you don't remember, and it's like if there's like the once in a blue moon where you don't piss someone off, it's like, oh my god,
it's a relief.
Close call.
I know. Like I just get like embarrassed of the actions that I do, and the next day I just spend the whole day like in this weird depressive aftermath funk that I'm like, I can't even do anything with my day today. So it's like drinking now takes 2 days of my life. And like, yeah, I started noticing that too, and I'm like, I don't like this. I don't like how this feels. Like, and then I started to think, because I know a lot of times people will drink because of social anxiety. Like there's so many reasons to drink. Social anxiety helps you like lubricate your interactions, and like it just puts your guards down. And so I know I experience that sometimes. If I'm feeling socially anxious to go around a new group, it's like nice to know, oh, I'll just take a shot and I'm sure it'll be fine.
Yeah.
So like I can see how that can build up. Did you feel like you were ever like drinking to escape things? Did you
Yeah. I think I struggled with being an emotional person all my life. Like I think that I get really emotional and I get hurt easily, and a lot of times to cope with the way that I was feeling, like I would drink, and I don't know, it was a way to just kind of mask and escape from the world and just get away from it all. And then it's like when you start drinking more and more, and like the more people you piss off and the more bridges that you burn, then you kind of start to isolate. And that's like when it got really bad for me. Like I started canceling on plans regularly with people, like all the time. Like you could probably count on me to cancel more so than I would actually show up.
Yeah.
And it became so bad. And then it's like at first, like in my early 20s, mid 20s, like I blew up. Like I gained a ton of weight
from drinking.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then towards later in my 20s, like before I got my first drinking and driving events, like I started losing weight like rapidly. Like I think I lost about like 70 pounds in a matter of like 3 or 4 months.
Damn.
Yeah, and I basically didn't understand why. I was like, I'm not really doing anything different. But then it's like you kind of start to realize, like, what have I eaten lately? Like I was living on like an apple and like a few like of those Activia drinks like a day maybe.
So you were prioritizing the alcohol?
Yeah, like I didn't even have to like try and lose weight. I just didn't think about eating.
Wow.
And I started to like lose a lot of weight, and then like your skin kind of starts to go to shit, your sleep goes to shit. And I started getting sick a lot.
Your immune system. Mm-hmm. Yep.
Like sick, like colds and headaches, and I mean, sorry, TMI, UTIs, like
no,
other things.
We talk about it all here.
Yeah.
This is a safe space.
And just everything. I mean, you start to feel really sickly ill, and like you feel weak. Like I started feeling it almost like in my bones, like just like aching, like just getting up out of the bed, like.
Yeah. And being so young, you're like, what's going on?
Yeah. And I don't know. I started experiencing a lot of weird symptoms, like I would bleed a lot more, and I've developed actually a blood clotting disorder because my liver has been so damaged from it.
Wow.
Yeah, I recently got a cirrhosis diagnosis. It's not like what people hear. They're like, oh, they have cirrhosis. They're gone, or like their time's a coming. Like I still have parts of my liver, but there's scar tissue.
How does it affect you? So the blood clots, you said you bleed more. And then the blood clots from that is really the biggest effects?
Yeah, so like if I I pick it like zits even, like it's an anxiety thing, but like if I pick it a zit, like it's probably gonna bleed. Like it's not like you can just put like a tissue on it and it'll go away in a couple minutes. Like it'll keep like
oh wow,
it'll keep coming and like
things you never would think. Never would think about.
Yeah, and I mean, I've even had doctors, like, they want me to see a specialist at Fairview for, like, a coagulation test. Because they're like, well, if you were to get in a car accident or get pregnant again, like, your chances of hemorrhaging are, like, significantly higher with this blood clotting disorder.
Oh, wow.
So I'm like, I never really thought that I would have these health issues just being in my 30s. Like, or 30. I just turned 30 in November.
You're a Scorpio?
Yeah. You're a Libra.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm like my bestest friend in the world. She's a Libra. And I'm
really?
Like, yeah. They're honestly, sorry, off topic, but
no,
horoscopes, Libras make like the bestest friends.
Thank you.
Sometimes they can like go on ghost mode and like hibernate, and like sometimes they're a little too honest.
Yes.
But I'm like they're like the friends that will like tell it how it is, and they'll be like they're not gonna sugarcoat things.
And we truly care. Like when I'm a friend, like KK can speak to this, like I love you down so bad. Like I don't know, like I just will be there for you for whatever you need. I'm gonna learn you. I'm gonna be like, this is what you need. But then there's times that we do go ghost because that's how we heal. And that's something that I think is our like purpose of growing, is learning how to like accept help and be open with our emotions. That's also part of this. Like it forces me to. So yeah. Oh, I love astrology, and they know that's how I have so much appreciation for Scorpios. They scared me at first because you guys are so in touch with your emotions, and for me as a logical thinker, I'm just like, I don't know how to do that, and it seems so intense. But now as I'm growing, I'm like, I want to be like that. Like I want to evolve into more of that. So I have so much respect for Scorpios, and you're so passionate and like very loyal people too. So I get that what you said earlier about like you're emotional and you get like hurt because of other people, because you do for them what you expect them to do back, and then they don't.
Yeah, that's not how life works.
No, unfortunately. But anyways,
Anyway,
I love that side note. So more into your addiction, when did you realize you're like, okay, this is an issue, like, and I want to do something about it? Because realizing it's an issue doesn't automatically mean you want to fix it.
Oh no, like it took me a while. So I mean, in 2021, I got my first. It's on my record as a refusal to submit. It's essentially a DWI. I was up on a camping trip up north by myself. I was going through like a bad breakup, and I went into town to get some ice, I think, and I was like, I must have just been like, oh shit, I should probably nap this off. Fell asleep in my car, wake up to a knock on my window, and I'm like,
oh shit.
Anyway, long story short, they make me blow on scene. It was like a ridiculously high number, and then they bring me to the station, and I refused to blow there because I was like, this is stupid. I don't understand why I have to do this. And they're like, well, this is the one that they would like to use in court, you know? Like, and I was like, I'm not doing it. So I signed the paper, refusal to submit. So it's a drinking and driving offense. And then the same year, after like going through getting my license reinstated and everything, just like months later in October, I really still don't have any recollection of what happened, how I got behind the wheel, but I was by myself. It was October 23rd, 2021. And I got behind the wheel, and I was, like I said, by myself, and I think in the papers it said I hit like a median or something.
Oh my god.
And my car flipped and I rolled into a pond. And thankfully I didn't hit anyone or hurt anyone besides myself, but I knocked my front 5 teeth out. I broke my jaw. I broke some vertebrae in my back, had to get surgery.
Oh my god.
So then after that, I went to treatment the day after Thanksgiving that year in November. And I did pretty well during treatment. I mean, I did 5 weeks inpatient, 7 weeks out, and then I did aftercare. Still struggled with relapses after that.
It happens.
And that was back in 2021. And I was still pretty much a hot mess and struggling to keep jobs and keep away from like the booze, and like I was still missing things like holidays with family and still isolating and focusing on like trying to find love. And I'm like, don't try and find love when you're an addict, like, or like when you're in recovery.
Yep.
Yeah. So
why do you say that?
It's like I think even during treatment when I wasn't drinking, like I felt like, oh, why would I wait for happiness, just because like I'm an addict, blah blah blah. But when they tell you to wait a year, like to be sober and stuff, to date, it makes a lot more sense to me now, because the way like your brain works, like whether it be alcohol or drugs, it takes your brain chemistry a long time to go back to what it was before you were drinking. Because it's changing like the chemical balance of what's going on in your mind. And then on top of it, it's like if you are getting therapy, like, because I go to therapy or virtual therapy every week. Therapy.
I love it. I love that.
You learn a lot about yourself, and you learn a lot about coping skills and kind of what matters. And when you're busy focusing on someone else and trying to be like happy alongside with them, like you're kind of like still giving a part of yourself to that relationship, when in all reality you should be focusing on yourself.
Yes, at least in that moment. Yeah.
So basically, like, I had wanted to really be done at this point, even after treatment. Like, I knew, like, it was only a matter of time before I was going to drink myself to death. And I think at one point I kind of was at the point where I was like, if I drink myself, like, to death, if I drink myself and don't wake up, like, what's the difference? It's not like I'm there for anyone anyways. Like, I kind of felt like that hope was, like, gone.
Yeah.
But, yeah, long story short, when I met Charlotte's dad, I moved into this house, this piece of shit house. It was a room to rent situation, and of course, like, I met her dad, and I was like, it's like, this man is good looking. So I made the first move, and he didn't like my drinking, and I was like, okay, he's gonna leave me if I don't get myself straight. So it took me like a few times, even with him, to like stop relapsing and like finally focus and get myself together. And my last official drink was on Halloween of 2023.
Good job,
and
Carol.
We moved into an apartment together the very next day. So then fast forward a little bit, come January 3rd, I had a job interview and a physical appointment. So January 2024. This is like right after I'm like freshly sober, a couple months in. I'm talking to the doctor and I'm like, yeah, I think I should get back on the pill, blah, blah, blah. Blah, blah, blah. And they're taking blood tests. And the same day, like on my chart, I'm like, why am I getting like blood tests back, but not like this dipstick test? And I was like, what's going on? So then I was like, okay, this is going to kill me. I was like, I wasn't even getting periods. That's how bad my health was.
Oh, so you weren't concerned at that point for pregnant?
No,
okay.
But I was like, it's got to come back if I'm eating and not drinking.
Right, yeah. Oh, shit.
So then I'm like, okay, I'm just going to buy a test to like ease my mind. Get one. It's pregnant. I take the second one in the box. It's pregnant. And I'm like...
He said...
And this is January 3rd of last year, so...
Start of the year.
Yeah, and I'm like, no fucking way. No fucking way. And then I'm like, I'll just take 2 more. Pregnant.
Surely these are faulty. Surely.
I'm like, there's no way any growth is like this is happening in this body. I'm like, this field has been out of commission since the Great Depression. I don't know. And then come January 5th, like, it was like a couple days after, and they had sent my blood work to the hospital to, like, double check, I guess, because they wanted to make sure, like, that it wasn't some false positive.
Yes.
And they're like, yeah, so you are pregnant. And I was like, what? I was like, oh my God. And they're like, yeah, we can get you in for an ultrasound tomorrow. So that was January 6th we go in of last year.
Holy moly.
And then come to find out, I wasn't getting my period. So they, based on sizing, they're like, yeah, we're guessing like your last missed period would have been on like 7 weeks ago, November 16th, my birthday. So I'm like,
no.
I'm like, so 2 weeks sober would have been my last, like, what would have been missed period. I'm like God is like the God's fate. Something.
Literally, what a present. What a present.
Yeah, so, oh God, you should have seen my dad's face. My mom at first was like, and my dad was like,
oh no, because they're coming from a place where
they're like, oh my God.
What you had just been going through. Yeah, but then you obviously are like, no, this is life-changing. Like, obviously you know yourself, but what was your reaction though when you first found out?
I was like, I just remember my jaw dropped, and I went back to the car, and I, like, her dad, Charlotte's dad, he whose name we don't speak of.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Oops. Sorry. I'll blank that out.
That was dorky.
No, not you. I flicked him off.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we are doing that.
Yeah. But I was just like, and he was like, what? And I was like, it says I'm pregnant. And he was like, no way. He's like, there's no way. Like, there's a baby inside of you. And I was like,
oh, first of all.
And I was like, I mean, my nipples are ginormous, and they're, like, super sore.
I said based off my nipples right now.
That was one of the first things. And, I mean, I didn't even realize it. Like, but, yeah, I was like, you know, I was craving barbecue and, grilled hot dogs with onions really bad.
Oh, that was your pregnancy cravings?
At first, yeah. I was like, yeah, that's what I really want. But, yeah, so that happened, and I was just kind of like, wow. And, like, seeing the ultrasound, I was like, okay, I want this baby.
Aww.
And I knew, like, it sounded crazy because I didn't have any of the means, like, to, like, financial means to, like, take care of a baby. And I'm like, you know, I know I'm in a rough spot right now, but I was like, I want this baby. Like for me in my mind, I felt like, wow, did I just choose, like, the right time to start sobriety again? Like, or is this, like, really meant to be, like...
That's how I think.
don't know, like, I kind of, like, lost touch with, like, religion for a while. And, I mean, I don't go to church. I'm not really into, like, a lot of organized religion. But
Agreed.
I was, like, I felt like a sign of from God to me almost.
It felt purposeful.
Yeah. And I was like, there's no way. Like,
of course.
The timing and...
Yeah, I believe things like that, too. Like, yeah.
And I was like, this is just meant to come in my life. And I've always said, like, I think I would like to have a baby before I'm 30. And I'm like, well, I turned 30.
Manifested that.
I just turned 30 in November.
Wow.
But, so, yeah, 7 weeks pregnant, January of last year. And, I don't know. So I kind of went with it. And, I mean, I had, like, one scare early on where I was bleeding, and I went in and it was nothing. I mean, that's normal to spot early on. But I went in for regular appointments, and, you know, I was trying to eat to the best of my ability. That was really hard considering her dad was trying to limit pretty much everything that I ate.
What?
Yeah, we'll get into that. He was very controlling and emotionally abusive, more so than physical. Like, if anything, like, when he got in my face or, like, my personal space or crossed boundaries, like, I mean, I think I lashed out in that sense more, but he wanted to control, like, financial things. He wanted to control how I wore my hair.
What?
Who I talked to. And, like... the list goes on.
What was it like going through your pregnancy with him?
Really hard.
Yeah.
He used, like... So I'm a very, like, big on, like, physical touch person. Holding hands, kissing, cuddling, all of it. Mm-hmm. I slept alone almost every single night of that pregnancy. And he would basically, if I wasn't acting right, or if I said something the wrong way, or I had the slightest attitude, or if I cried too much, like, he would go sleep in the other room.
That is so messed up. You are pregnant.
Yeah.
You are carrying life in your stomach. You're carrying his child.
Yeah.
And he would use your emotions against you.
Yeah.
Because, hello, like, even if you weren't emotional and didn't have those hormones, we're just women, or we're just human, and we want that. And to use that, like, oh, you're a little too emotional today, I'm not giving you what you want.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to make you feel loved because it's disrupting whatever I have going
Yeah.
on. What a piece.
Well, because they don't want you to feel like you're worthy of it. Like,
No.
They want you to need them. Like,
He'll give it when
keep
it's,
needing them.
when he, in his eyes, you deserve it.
Yeah.
Yuck.
Or, like, when they feel like you're slipping just too far from their grasp, then they're like,
Here.
breadcrumbing, they call it.
Breadcrumbing. That went on your entire pregnancy.
Mm-hmm. And then, like, the eating. Like, he didn't want me eating Cheerios because they were banned in the UK because there's carcinogens. And then...
Okay.
But it's like, it wasn't out of a place of love, like, wanting me to eat a certain way. You know, like, I totally get if someone's like, hey, I noticed, like, you're eating a lot of Arby's, babe. Like, I get you're pregnant, but you got to make sure you're eating your fruit, too.
Right.
It was just like, you can't have this, you can't have that, you can't have that. Look at those ingredients. That's all crap. That's crap.
And was he eating to the same standard?
So much shit. Like,
He was eating the Cheerios?
No, he wasn't eating Cheerios, but he was eating a lot of, like, fast food and...
One to talk.
Yeah, and it was like he was only working part-time because he qualifies for disability, and I think it's because of his mental illness. I don't know exactly what it is. It was never disclosed to me what exactly it was, but he was working, like, 12 hours a week. I was working... My pregnancy, because where I was at, I was allowed to work overtime a lot of times. I was working, like, close to, like, 45, 50 hours a week, and I'm, like, pregnant.
You are disgusting. If God forbid you see this episode, actually, I hope you do so you can reflect on your piece of self. To make your pregnant girlfriend work overtime while you barely work 12 hours a week, you suck.
Yeah.
Like, you suck, and I hope you see this.
Yeah.
Ew.
Yeah.
And did that bother you at the time, or were you even thinking about it, or how were you feeling in that moment?
It did bother me because, I mean, I was like, you know, you could find so many other jobs that are paying more than what you're getting now. Like, you should be grinding for us. Like, and he's like, well, with, like, my disability check or whatever and my seniority at my job, I'm like, your seniority? He was a part-time freight and receiving person at Home Depot.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Your seniority? Babe, what?
This man is 45 years old.
Oh, and he was older. Mm-hmm. I've dabbled older, too. I love older. But, like, to not have to work 12 hours.
Yeah, like, you would think, like, when you get an older man, like, that they're going to be responsible.
You would think.
You would think. Make you, like, bust your ass.
But you can get that, but then you got the ones that is, like, a loser. Like, unfortunately.
Yeah. And then they act like they're this wise person.
Yep.
And I'm like...
I could tell you 10 things.
You rely on, like, Joe Rogan for the news.
So real. So real. It's scary out here. So, okay. Outside of that, we're, like, you having conversations with him, like, can you do more? And what would he respond to that?
Oh, yeah. It was like... Oh, you know, like, I'm busy lifting, you know, like, with, like, the truck. Whenever we have, like, the truck, it's so much harder. And my back is in so much more pain than yours because I'm lifting, like, freight. And I was like, I broke my back in 2021. I was like, you know this, and I'm pregnant, and I'm working in a childcare center. I was like, my back hurts, and you're not pregnant. Your bones are not fucking actively shifting. I was like, I'm in a lot of fucking pain, like, and it was always like, oh, you don't love me, like, you always want me to rub your back, but you never rub mine. Like, he never rubbed my back. The only time I really got rubs was in the hospital when there's, like, a nurse in the room.
Someone to see proof of it?
Yeah.
So he can act like he's being a narcissist.
Yeah.
To the T. Oh, I'm so sorry you had to experience that. Ew.
Yeah, and now it's, like, a matter of, like, because we get... health insurance or the state, and I listed him as the alleged father because he never signed a recognition of parentage. Yeah, but yet he wanted all these things and, like, say, like, things to say, like, about parenting, and I'm like, You, like, he claimed that he thought I was cheating, but he had a camera in the living room keeping tabs on me. And,
what?
Yeah, and I was like, I don't have time or energy to even cheat on you if I wanted to.
At what point did he bring this camera in the living room?
Pretty early on after we moved in together.
And he told you the purpose of it while you were...
He said that it was because he was worried about people breaking into the apartment and stealing stuff. And I was like, we don't have anything exciting to steal, like, except for, like, a TV. I'm like, we're in New Hope. Like, no one's going to come in and steal a TV. It's an apartment.
That is terrifying because honestly, the boyfriend that I was talking about in Chicago, he did the same thing.
Really?
He would have a camera in the living room, and I think he brought it out after we had broke up and we had to live together. We had separate rooms and stuff, but he had it like facing the door. He's like, it's in case anybody comes in. Like, no, he had it before we broke up, and I was like, that is so weird.
He just wants to like keep tabs on like who you're having over and what you're doing when you're leaving.
Oh, that is so... Yeah, I'm putting myself back in there. I'm like, how did I even, like, make that okay in my brain?
Yeah.
You just kind of, like, go with it, kind of. Oh, that's really uncomfortable.
And I'm like, I threw that camera into the toilet so many times, and somehow it kept back in the wall.
I love that. I love that. When I was moving out, me and my sister were like, F you, and she held up a piece of paper that said, hope you see this.
When me and my mom, like, we came in there, like, smoking guns. Like, because I used the VAWA, like, Violence Against Women Act to break my lease and get out.
Oh, God.
When me and Charlotte, he, like, propped the camera up, like, as if it was working. And I'm like, his stupid ass. Like, I cut him off from the Wi-Fi, like, all over a month ago. I know that camera's
that
not
thing
working.
ain't connected.
Yeah, you've been disconnected long ago.
So what was so people out in your life knew what was going on? Or...
Oh yeah, my parents hated him. Like,
yeah,
I think they just it was weird. It was such a trip because like I think seeing him in the hospital, like for a little bit there, he did seem like he may have like made a shift. I think because for narcissists, like it was a novelty, like having a new title, being a dad, being like a partner, and blah blah blah. Like it was exciting for him, and I'm sure in his own little weird fucked up way, like yeah, like it meant something to him. But at the end of the day, when after her being in the NICU for 2.5 months, like
oh wow,
like I remember having to leave. Oh God, I had so many health complications too after her, but. I remember, like, leaving without my baby, and I didn't have a car yet. My parents, thank you, Mom and Dad, they got me back on the road, and, like, they helped me out and found a car because he would use, like, rides as a means to, like, blackmail, or not blackmail, like, to control me. Like, he didn't want me getting Ubers or Lyfts to the store, and because I wasn't working on my maternity leave, I didn't have money to go to the store. Unless I called my parents, you know, so he was controlling all of those things.
Oh my God.
And yeah, and like going to like see my baby in the NICU, he would be like, I don't get why we need to see her every day. Like she's not gonna evaporate into thin fucking air. And I'm like, first of all, don't get me wrong, parents of NICU babies, you do not need to see your baby every day. And I get that. Some parents need a break from the NICU.
Sure.
But, like, the way that he did it was just like, oh, we'll go when it's convenient for me. And I'm like, well, they're telling us, like, at night, like, these are, like, her solid hours of sleep. Like, we should be seeing her in the daytime. And he's like, well, we need to go for walks and do this and that and this and that. And I'm like, I want to go see my fucking baby. Like,
thank you.
And I also, like, so I was in the hospital for 6 nights after having her. I had her early, too. I had her at 27 weeks.
That's very early.
Yeah, she was 2 pounds, 5.7 ounces.
Wow. You and KK's stories are very similar.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I had her early. They discharged me after 6 days. The very same day, I started leaking from my incision site, like, a lot. Like, we're talking, like, over a liter of, like, leaking, like, pinkish, clear fluid. And I went in and they're like, oh, it's just, like, a hemanoma. It'll fix itself. And they, like, took a urine test and they're like, oh, well, you have some sort of, like, bladder infection or UTI, so we'll just give you an antibiotic drip, but it's, like, not actively leaking. And I'm like, okay. So I turn over on the table and then I start leaking more and they're like, oh, now we see. So they bring in the emergency room, like, this OBGYN. She's like, all right, we got to make this quick. I got a baby to deliver upstairs in 20 minutes. They open the whole incision site, snip it open, and they end up debriding it and then stuffing me with wet gauze and explain briefly that it's not going to heal from just the outside in, like by stitching. So they have to they let me go with it open, stuffed full of wet gauze, and that I would have to go in every day or every 2 days, or I could have a home health nurse come and change it, or change it.
Yeah, right.
And I'm like, you open up a whole C-section wound. And then it's like, at that point, I went into the ER 4 times in 24 hours. And they finally, the last time, saw a superficial tear of my fascia, which could have been bad if it ruptures. Like, that's your guts and everything. So then they were getting me into pre-op at Maple Grove, and my daughter's upstairs. And they're like, we're really concerned about your heart, so we're going to send you to Robbinsdale because they have a cardiologist there. And I'm like, wait, so you're telling me I'm not going to be here with my baby? And they're like, yeah, it should just be like for a short amount of time, like you'll stay overnight. So then they put me under there in Robbinsdale, and then they stuffed me with like this sponge material in a machine called a wound vac, and it's sucking all of the crud out. So I had a wound vac on me for a couple weeks, and then even after that, I still had to go back to the hospital because I had a bunch of fluid buildup somewhere else, and I spent 10 more nights in Robbinsdale away from my baby.
Oh my gosh, Carol.
I know, it was a lot.
That is a very traumatizing first pregnancy experience from start to finish, it sounds like.
Yeah, it really was, but I'm like, at the same time, like, I'm still really thankful that my daughter is great, and she did well throughout the whole thing.
Why? She was just in the NICU because she was so young.
Well, yeah, I mean, 27 weeks. They can't even start introducing bottle feeds to her until 7 weeks after that. Like, so 34 weeks, what would have been gestation? Because, I mean, they're not developed, and yeah, it was just because the reason why I had to deliver so early was I had preeclampsia, which turned into HELP syndrome, which is hemolysis, elevated liver enzymes, and low platelet count. So it was like, either risk her going into distress and losing her, and then if we kept going, like, I could possibly lose my life too, or go into some serious distress. And it was like, I remember at the time being like happy, and I'm like, oh, okay, we get to meet my baby. And then I was like, when all's said and done, and like you're like in the room alone or something at one point, one night I just started bawling, and I'm like, this is really how this happened? Like, it was crazy.
Because that's not how you picture it. Nobody was going to picture the outcome that way.
No.
At what point did you have to go in and like, because was there just like a night you woke up and you weren't feeling well and you had to go into the doctors, or how did that come to be?
So May 17th, I had some really, really bad swelling, and they're like, oh, that's normal, it's pregnancy swell, just pay close attention to like your blood pressure, yada yada. And I was like, okay. And then a week later, Friday, May 24th, I was like, this is not normal. Like, I sat down to pee for like 5 minutes because I was having trouble peeing, and then all of a sudden, like, everything was swollen. Like, it looked like I grew a testicle.
Really?
Yeah.
So what, I don't have to use it, but like your lips got swollen?
Yeah, so bad, just from sitting on the toilet. And I was like, this isn't normal. I can't feel my vagina.
Whoa, that's terrifying.
And then they took my blood pressure then again, and then they did like the urine test, and they're like, okay, there's protein in your urine. We're going to admit you. And 3 days later, I was having her.
You never would think that. Because in your mind, you're like, I still have months.
Yeah, a whole trimester.
Were you prepared at home for the stuff?
No.
Yeah.
John kept putting it all off. He's like, oh, no, like, my mom keeps telling us to wait. Like, we could just put it off. And
here we are.
Yeah.
It's so scary. I can only imagine being in that room and like having to make that decision.
Yeah.
That's so scary.
Well, yeah, and it was like they had like a general surgeon, they had a OBGYN, they had some sort of, I think, a cardiologist too in the room, and they're like, well, do we try and let her buy some time to let this baby grow and keep giving her steroid injections? Do we, make her have it now? Like, they were all kind of like,
what do we do?
Yeah,
it's such a, like, 27 weeks, I'm sure, is like such a touchy time. So helping you with this at all, or how was he acting when you were admitted?
He was there. I mean, you could tell that he was he was worried. And I mean, my parents said when I went in for like emergency surgery for like that superficial tear and stuff, like he was a mess. And I mean, I do believe that. And like I said, I mean, I don't think narcissists are like completely devoid of empathy or like having feelings. I just think it's a lot of times though, like there's underlying things like in his mind. What am I gonna do? What's gonna happen to me?
This
like,
is happening to him instead of caring about you.
Yeah, that was like more his first thought, and like I don't know, because it's like it didn't take him long after like all was said and done, and she went home for him to be the same exact person.
The mask came off.
Yeah,
That's really sad. That's really sad. I mean, yeah, you guys both deserve better, and I'm sorry, but it sounds like you're doing the damn thing, and we're about to get into it.
Yeah.
So walk me through. You finally get through all of these scary health conditions, which I'm so sorry that you went through. I'm so happy you're okay. Oh, our co-host is here.
Hi, my name is Suzu. I'm joining you guys on this podcast.
Yes, absolutely. And that is brought to you by our ASMR break.
You finally overcome all those health issues.
Yeah.
And Charlotte is healthy enough, big enough to be brought home. What was that like? Like, walk me through that time.
Oh, wow. So I had just gotten a new job. I had left the previous job that I was at when I was pregnant because, I mean, things were just kind of going downhill, and I was like, you know, with my schedule, and the plan was that since Sean was working part-time and he was only working 6 p.m. to 10, and I was working like mornings, like throughout the day at a daycare, like he would have her throughout the day, and then we wouldn't have to pay for childcare. And so I was like, they're not going to get me out of here on time. Like, I just know it. Like, they're not going to let me do that. And I was like, so I need to find a new job. The first day that I start training at this new job, August 15th, like I get a call from the hospital and they're like, yep, she's ready to go home today. And I'm like,
oh my gosh.
It's like, oh my God.
Did they give you like a week advance notice or anything? Or it was just one day, oh, she's good?
They try and give you a heads up.
Okay.
Like they'll be like, yeah, like any day now, or like, you know, in the next week or so. I mean, they can't just tell you like for sure, but because they go by, you know, how their breathing is and how they're doing, like, because she had to get off of her CPAP machine, and then she went upstairs and was on like the nasal cannula, like, so just oxygen therapy, things like that. But I mean, taking her home, I mean, that was super exciting. And I mean, I remember we were both really excited. I mean, the place wasn't by any means ready, and I do remember being really mad about that. I'm like, you had all this fucking time while I was sitting away rotting in a hospital bed.
Like, a loving partner would have used that, like, let me do this and make sure everything's perfect. Like, hello.
Yeah, and that's another thing. He was a fucking slob. Like, I mean, don't get me wrong. Like, my car and my room and stuff growing up, they were bad. But I'm like, you know, I tried so very hard the whole duration of that relationship to keep the place clean with him that eventually I kind of started to give up. Because it's like...
Of course.
You, like, clean after working all day, and, like, if the trash is full, like, the one job that I gave him to take the trash out, like, he'll just start creating a pile in front of the trash bin, and I'm like, take it out. Like,
oh my God, that's embarrassing.
Gross.
Just to be a grown man like that.
It's just gross.
Yes. And rude and inconsiderate of other people's space that you were sharing with.
Yeah.
Ugh. Okay,
Just
so the place
gross.
was nasty when you brought her home. That
really
sucks.
Gross.
Because that's not what you want.
How am I supposed to keep, like, clean bottles anywhere? Like, I want a fucking counter. One counter space of untouched, like, germs, like, at least. Like, you can't even leave me one fucking counter. Like, that was maddening. And then...
Oh, yeah. Because it's so small.
Yeah. And it's like, you know, I was already back to work by the time that she was discharged, and I felt so robbed. Like,
oh yeah,
I was like, you know, like, go f yourself. Like, I'm like, you know, I should be at home with my baby. Like, yeah, I got 2.5 months of maternity leave, but I'm like, well, not even maternity leave. I wasn't getting paid.
Yeah.
Because I was not even with that job that long enough. Like, you didn't qualify until, like, after a year. And I was like, that should have been my time with my baby. Like, and I came home so many days, and she would be in her bassinet, like, not even swaddled right. And he had it, like, set out in the living room. Like, he, for whatever reason, wanted us to sleep in the living room. Sorry.
No, you're good.
But, yeah, he basically made the bedroom dedicated for his gaming space. And I really wanted to set up a crib in there. And he's like, no, we're going to be moving anyways. Like, we don't need to set up the crib. And I was like, I want to.
Exactly.
I'm like, you can take it down. Like, it's not that hard. Like, whenever we need to move. And
at what point this happened, he made you move into the living room during your, like, pregnancy?
Like, pretty much before, almost. Like, yeah. Like, and I kind of... It took me a while to understand. I'm like, why is he doing this? Like, is he doing this because he knows it drives me crazy? And I'm like, oh, he wants, like, a whole room to himself.
To himself.
Just game. And, like, he would use that room to, like, punish me or stay up all night gaming. And
oh, my gosh, Carol. And, like, at the time when these things are happening, like, you just don't realize them. Like, when you're in the moment when it's happening, it's like, yeah, this doesn't make me feel good. But, like, you don't realize how, like, controlling and narcissistic it is until, like, and you're out of it.
Yeah.
Like, that's so fucked up and selfish.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're in the living room with your newborn child, and when she first came home, though, did you get any time off to be with her?
No. She came home on a Thursday, and, like, thankfully it was, like, my training days at work, and my boss let me go home that Thursday and take Friday off, but I was pretty much right back to work.
Wow.
Yeah, and he took time off of work even when I was on leave. Like, I'm like, you should have just been working. It's not like you had that many hours.
You're 2 shifts a week. Like, you could have handled it. Like,
yeah.
Oh my God.
He technically was scheduled for 4 a week, but, like, I shit you not, he would call in and be like, yeah, is there going to be a truck today? Like, do you guys need me to come in? And I'm like,
you can't even do the bare minimum.
Mm-mm.
How? Ugh. I can't puke enough over this man.
Yeah, I know. He's terrible.
So then you're going to work as a new mom. Working overtime, and he's barely working part-time, barely, like, not even meeting minimum for part-time hours, watching your baby, and that's got to be, like you said, it was driving you crazy, because you come home, and she wasn't even getting that bonding time with her dad. She was in a bassinet.
Yeah, pretty much. And I mean, for a while, I was like, you know, I get it, like, babies, they do sleep a lot, but I'm like, he would say things like, oh, she's just so annoying right now, and I'm like, I feel like I didn't get to that point with my daughter until recently, and I'm like, what do you need, baby?
Yeah.
What do you want from me?
Yeah.
Like, now I'm like, I've fed you, I've burped you, I'm like, what do you need from me?
What, baby?
Like, and some mornings, like, she'll be, like, screaming, and she'll be in her crib, and, like, I'll come and I'll feed her and stuff, and then sometimes she'll just cry, and I'll come there, and she'll be like, here.
Yeah, they're
like,
just
you.
babies.
I love you too.
Yes, you stinker butt.
Yeah.
How long did you guys make that situation work?
When she was home, not very long. His family came. His mom. When I was at work one day, I think it was September. Like, at that point, we were already in really bad shape. I mean, we were in bad shape the whole duration of the relationship.
Yeah.
And I think I just desperately wanted a family.
Of course.
But he, like, called me when I was at work one day, and he's like, yeah, I'm at my sister's house. Like, we could cut out her name.
Okay.
But he was like, I'm at my sister's right now, and my mom is in town with my stepdad and my other brother, or my brother, and I was like, They just came from down south randomly, unannounced. And he's like, yeah. And I'm like, no wonder he's been treating me, like, extra shitty all week. Like, he's been sensing it.
Wow.
Yeah, and he didn't want me to meet his family. He was like, you don't know what they're like. You don't know what they're capable of. And then it was like, all the while, he was telling his family all these terrible things about me.
Was he?
Yeah. And I mean, of course, he was recording me whenever I lose my shit. I mean, you retaliate after a while. Like, you lose your mind.
Hell yeah.
You really do.
And he pushed you to that point just so he could get that reaction out of you, so he could have that control over you.
Everyone's got a breaking point. I'll say that.
Yes.
And
yes, we do.
That's one of my biggest regrets is, like, giving into that and like losing my temper, but
You were under a lot of different pressures he was putting you under.
well, yeah, I was dealing with sobriety, depression, anxiety, being a new mom,
PTSD probably.
Yeah, I
or
was
not.
like,
What is it? Postpartum.
yeah, postpartum. Yeah, I mean,
Health complications.
yeah, I was a hot mess.
And you're doing it all by yourself. Like, yeah.
Pretty much, yeah. And but no, yeah. So what was I? Yeah, it's September. His mom came into town, and I was like, "You didn't think about calling me?" And he's like, "Well, you were at work," and I'm like, "I probably could have arranged for something and came and met your family." And,
For the first time?
Yeah.
Oh,
I never met them.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and I'm like, "You piece of shit." And then
Wow.
So I managed to talk to them on the phone later on that day. And I was like, yeah, we should all get together for like a barbecue or something. I would love to meet you guys.
Yeah.
And then he kind of took the phone back. Like, I wasn't there. And he was like, all right, I'm getting a headache. Like, I need to go. Like, blah, blah, blah. And his mom said the same thing. Like, he was like, oh, I have a headache. I can't do this. And the very next day, like, I broke up with him because I think he walked out on me for some stupid reason. And I was like, you know what? Fuck this shit. I'm so done. I was like, and at that point, I'm like, I have a baby. I can't deal with the fighting. So him and I left. I went to my best friend's place. And then he lost it. He was like, you don't even tell me where you were. Blah, blah, blah. Like, and then talking about, like, custodial, like, arrangements. And I'm like, all I did was go to a friend's house, and you're reacting like this?
Watch what happens now.
Yeah. And then it was like, I think it was the very next day, because I had tried to reach out to his sister on Facebook before, and she actually did get back to me. And the very next day, I had a wedding to go to. Charlotte was going to be at my parents', and his sister reached out, and she's like, my mom and, you know, my stepdad are going back down south today or tomorrow, and they would like love to see her. You know, is there any way we could make something happen? So I was like, yeah. I was like, so I texted him. I was like, your sister and your mom, like, your family wants to see her, so you should probably figure something out. And then he was like, yeah, I'll figure it out. And so I actually got in touch with his sister, and we talked on the phone, and I was like, you know, I'm going to a wedding and I feel bad, and I would love to be there. But if you guys want to go, like, meet her at my parents' house, or if you want to take the car seat, like, I'm trusting you guys. You guys can take her for the day and hang out. And they were like, really? That's so nice. Like, thank you so much. And long story short, like, calls my dad when they're already over at my parents and I'm at the wedding, and he was like, yeah, I'm coming to get Charlotte. And my dad's like, oh, okay, well, your mom and your sister and your stepdad are all here. And then he was like, he started freaking out. So then his mom called him, and then I guess he called her a certain name.
Ooh.
And then his justification was, well, I didn't think it was my mom I was talking to. I thought I was talking to Caroline. And he said that to my parents, and my mom was like,
pause. You thought you were gonna talk to my daughter that way?
yeah, so it's that much better, right?
Right.
The mother of
Stupid. Ew.
yeah. So then after that, I heard what happened, but I was at a wedding, and I was like, I'm so sorry that happened to you guys, because my parents said they all looked just spooked, and they just took off.
Because
Charlotte, like, they just went back to his sisters.
they didn't want to.
They didn't want to deal with the explosion. So the very next day, after, like, the day after the wedding, I was like, you know, I would love to come over if you guys want to meet. I really want to meet everyone and understand, like, a little better, you know, more about you guys. And I want you to see Charlotte. She knew, like, I wanted to know her family.
Yeah.
And so we met, and then I was talking kind of about things. I think he's kind of led a life of chaos his whole life. So I think, like, there's some mental health there.
It's definitely sounds like there's a lot of mental things going on, and I don't want to make, like, I hope he gets the help that he needs.
He won't.
But that's what it's sounding like. Like, you have to want that for yourself and not to be spewing this negativity and disgusting, like, energy out into the world, especially people who are, like, there to, like, build a life of love with you. Like, he could have had something great with you. He could have had a family, but he chose to be controlling, nasty, manipulative, lie. Like, he has to want to get better for himself, and it doesn't sound like he's that type of person.
No. So, I mean, long story short with him, though, like, I have an order of protection. He's not to be within 2 city blocks of me for the next 2 years.
Did this happen immediately after the family situation, or was there another occurrence?
It went into effect, when did I go to court? It was, like, the end of December, I think, or, like, end of December it went into effect.
But was it hearing that stuff from his family which triggered you to pursue that?
Well, the thing was, he wanted to move into the same apartment complex that we were going to be in.
Oh, so you moved out.
Well, I was planning on it.
Okay.
And I was like, okay, I need to get the ball rolling on this. I was like, I need to get a temporary order, and then I need to go to court. I'm not going to have him fucking live in the same building with me. Like, no fucking way. Like, at first, I was like, when we talked about it, you know, I was open to the idea of co-parenting. I was like, that's fine, whatever. But now I'm like, when I did, like, come back to the apartment, just because I was like, okay, I can't stay at my parents' and hide forever. All my shit's there. My work is, like, 10 minutes from our apartment. But it's like he had no desire to be around Charlotte after, like, leaving her at my parents' for 10 days. Like, he just dropped her there when I was at work one day. Didn't say where he was going, nothing. Just dropped her. Didn't call me, text me for 10 days. And, but yeah, he just acted like, you know, he wanted to get me back, and, oh, he missed me, and I'm like, you should be paying attention to her right now. That's what matters. And
Ooh.
he just wanted to kind of blackmail me, and said that he was going to post, like, a bunch of flyers, of, like, pictures of me at work, and scatter them around work, and scatter them around my parents' neighborhood. And, he said it was, I finally, like, got a recording, and he said that I didn't use it in court. I didn't have to. I just had 2 police reports from calling the police on him, but he said that he wanted to make it his life mission to get me, like, put away, like, somewhere, like intake for, like, mental health or something. And I was
Sounds like projection.
yeah, and I was like, huh. So after that, I think he kind of got tipped off that they were trying to serve him, because I got a call from the sheriff one day, and they're like, yeah, like, is this, I forget what they asked. They're like, yeah, we're looking for Sean, blah, 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 and we called him, like, the number or whatever that you gave us, and we asked him if he, like, knew you, and he said that he thought that, he was like, oh yeah, like, I think we dated or something before. Like, but so I think
He said, I think.
Yeah, I think they were, like, trying to get in touch with him. But I think, like, in his mind, because he's so paranoid, he's terrified of cops. Like, he was like, oh, they're looking for me for something. So I think he contacted some sort of lawyer, free lawyer, and he found out that there was an order put out to serve him. So then he ended up, because he didn't show up for the first virtual court hearing, because he didn't get any of his papers. And then he showed up to the second one via phone call. And he ended up finding out that there was a temporary order. Then he made us reschedule and postpone the court date because he wanted to get representation. Never showed up to court. Just wasted everybody's time. So then automatically my order was granted. So, because like I said, the VAWA Act, I broke the lease and I was like, I got to get out of here. I got to get into an apartment and get my name on that property before he ever even sets foot to do that. Because then if I got the order, he can't move in there.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, we went in, like, smoking guns, and, yeah, that was the last time I saw him,
And you're doing all of this stuff behind the scenes while you're living in the same place with him?
Kind of, yeah. It was very quick.
How long was that period of time when you decided to...
Do the order?
Decided to leave him, and then...
Oh.
The process of getting the order and then actually moving out?
I want to say it was, like... September to, like, October.
So, like a month.
Mid-October.
Like, that... And you're doing all of this as a new mom, as you're working. Like, that is so much. How did you get through that? And, like we said, battling your... Or making sure you're honoring your sobriety.
Yeah.
Like, how did you get through that time?
My parents.
Yeah.
My parents and...
Shout out to y'all.
Yeah, mom and dad.
For real. Wow.
My parents were really helpful in just, I mean, coworkers, like, for a while, I mean, don't get me wrong, it was really stressful for me and coworkers because I was just a hot mess, but, like, being somewhere where I knew that I was safe and, like, that people at least understood that I was in a bad situation and I wasn't necessarily, like, terrified that I was going to, like, lose my job.
Yeah.
I took solace in that and just, I don't know, like, getting through it, like, my baby was, like, the biggest thing.
Mm-hmm.
And it took me, like, it sounds weird saying it, but just, like, a lot of courage and strength to muster it up to leave him.
Oh, yeah.
Because naturally, like, you know, if you think about it in monetary means and stuff and, like, as, like, a pretty picture, like, staying together as a family would be a lot better and easier. There would be that person, like, for some support or whatever, or at least, like, help, like, going to, like, the store or something, like, but at the end of the day, like, when I did move out, it took me a while to adjust, and I was still spending a lot of time at my parents' because I was really alone, and I felt maybe, like, he was, like, lurking, but
Scary.
I don't know if he was.
Yeah.
But
You just didn't feel safe.
Yeah. Like, you're just constantly looking over your shoulder, but I just, what was I saying? Like, it was just a lot easier, like, because he, being, like, with, like, these narcissists, and, like, I feel so, like, dumb saying it, because I feel like everyone says, like, narcissist nowadays, but, like, they take so much energy. Like, I would be at work, like, talking to someone mid-sentence, and, like, falling asleep, like these micro sleeps they call them, and that stopped happening after I left him, and I wasn't necessarily getting any more sleep. I was probably getting less sleep, but it was like maybe just better quality sleep, or just my emotions were a little bit more kilter, and I just didn't have to, like, worry about which Sean I was running into that day, or what would I do that wasn't good enough or would piss him off, or, you know, like,
all the mental gymnastics you had to go through was exhausting you. And then, so yeah, the little sleep you were getting during night, it wasn't even restorative because you're just back. Well, you wake up and now it's back to routine of what am I doing wrong? Constantly overanalyzing everything.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. That's hard. And it makes you doubt yourself. That's what I realized. It makes you doubt yourself, your actions, your choices. Like, am I wrong, or am I in the wrong for this? Like, you really lose kind of touch with reality in a sense.
Yeah, you do. And you really lose a big part of yourself almost, or I try and, like, use my words carefully, like, too. Like, I don't want to say I lost a part of myself, like, but I kind of gave so much of myself, and, like, I put up with so much, and I sacrificed so much of, like, my well-being and, like, my morals and, like, things that I valued for myself, and
you deprioritized yourself.
Yeah, and I, like, when I think about it now, I'm like, this is asinine. Like,
right? Like,
fuck?
How can I be a good mom if I'm not doing that? But you didn't have the support to do that. You didn't have, the environment was not set up for you to succeed that way. Like, he was doing everything he could to break you, and he thought he could, but look at you now. You thought. So you move into your own place. You're spending time at your parents, trying to adjust to the change.
Yeah.
When did you start feeling like you felt safe at home?
You know, it didn't take me too long. I think it took maybe, I don't know, like, because I moved in October, maybe about, like, a month, I'd say.
Yeah.
To the point where it was, like, I think my parents got a little, or my dad especially, because they love Charlotte, like, they got a little too comfy with me coming over. Like, my dad would be like, oh, are you in, he calls her Gooer, he'll be like, are you and Gooer coming over? I want to see Gooer. Like, I demand to see Gooer, and I'm like, me and Gooer are tired.
Me and Gore are straying.
Yeah.
But now you are fully embracing that single mom life.
Yeah, in a sense. I mean, I've gone on some Facebook dating and stuff, and maybe it's still too soon for that, but I'm like, you know, I did get, it wasn't like I was, like, waiting in the calendar, but, like, I got my year of sobriety down.
Yes!
I'm in therapy. I'm holding a job. I'm able to go to work and function, and I've gotten to the point in my sobriety where I've like had those talks with like a lot of people, like even like Nikki and Mac. Like I've apologized to both of them, like, and like expressed like how sorry I was, like that I fell through the cracks. Cause like we were talking about like our little like niches, like in that high school group, like me and Nikki and Michaela were like a strong throuple for a while there.
Oh yeah, especially like right after high school, you guys were hanging out a lot. Did you live with one of them? No, you didn't live.
No.
Nikki lived.
They lived together.
Yeah. But no, I remember that because you guys were all in the cities and you would hang out a lot. So,
and I think I for so long became that one friend. They're like, is she gonna show? Is she not? Like they never said that to me, but you know, like shit. I mean, I know in my mind, I'm like, you know, when you're being that friend who's like, oh, I hate to do this, but I have to cancel.
Yeah.
I have to cancel.
I've been there. Yeah.
Yeah, and I just you start making those apologies to people, and like you start taking ownership instead of being like, oh, you know, I was just depressed. Like, no, it's more like, I'm really sorry that I wasn't able or like in a spot where I was like a good friend and that I let you guys down, or like, and I've been able to apologize to like my grandma and like my brother and other people in my life that I've like kind of burned those bridges with. Like, you could have started doing things like that, but like going off and like dating, like, yeah, I've had some hit or miss dating. It sucks. I'm like, oh, I'm not missing out on much. So.
No, it's kind of scary out in these trenches. Like, I just joked about it, but I was like, I'm taking my talents overseas. Like, I feel like we're much more. I'm trying to see what's happening over there because these American boys are treacherous. Like, I just don't vibe with them. I just feel like they want to be the girl. They want to be chased after. And I'm like, these European boys love the girl. Like, I met a few. Oh, and they're so different. And my sister's in the Dominican right now, and she's like, you need to get over here immediately. They love us here. I said,
they love us.
I'm on my way.
I'm on my way.
So right now,
island boy.
I'm gonna be an island boy. Yeah, these American boys are treacherous. So, but anyways, but like, so dating, like when you're going into these dates, are you thinking about Charlotte and like how they could possibly fit in this picture? And like, obviously it's early, but as a mom, you have to think about those things.
Yeah. Well, and for me, I think for right now, I'm like, I've only gone on like a few dates. And I don't know. I'm like to the point where I want to just put a pause on it because I'm like, you know, I try and have my parents just watch Charlotte one night a week, like for the night. And like, that's tonight. But I'm like, do I want to spend it with some friends if I can? Do I want to spend it going on a date with some guy who's like most likely not going to be the one? Or even do I go to the store and get some stuff done and enjoy some me time? I'm like, you really have to prioritize your time. And don't get me wrong, like she is at that point where she's still so young. I'm like, I do feel like as a single mom, like my time is so precious though. I'm like, I don't want to be dating regularly when she is starting to form those memories either.
That's a good point.
I'm like, I think maybe part of my mindset right now too is like, okay, maybe I do hit it off with someone now when the going's good, but I'm like, when she starts talking and walking, I don't want to take those regular like 1 days a week away from her just because I want to go on a date or something. It's like, because she's going to start remembering and like, she'll have questions, and I don't want her to ever meet a man unless it's someone that I feel is like, I've been on like a really good dating streak with for like, I mean, at least like a few months, I feel like.
Yeah, I really respect that. Yeah.
Well, because I don't want her to see that and think that that's like normal or okay or like, or like I am putting her like as like a second priority, because that's not what it is at all.
No.
I mean, but it's like when she is like old enough to remember and like she's talking, like what if like it would just break my heart if I heard her say things like, oh, I want to be with mommy tonight when I'm not there. Like, I don't know. So I'm like kind of going into it. I'm like, you know, I'll dabble, but
yeah,
I'm not like completely set on it So right now, like, being a single mom, it's unique in that way, I guess. Like, that was, like, one of the questions. It's, like, how do you prioritize your time? Like, you know, like, I don't know. Like, it's a struggle. Some days I'm just like, I want to go to Target without having to carry a car seat into the store without her crying.
That's a 15-minute extra process, I feel like,
Yeah,
traveling
like,
with an infant.
Yeah, like right now, like she's at my parents', but even earlier, like they're like, yeah, you'll need to get her some diapers and more formula because like she ran out of diaper there, and I always keep some formula there.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, okay, it's so cold, so I'm gonna go to Target quick. And
Yeah.
I'm like, this is awesome!
Freedom! I obviously can't personally relate to that, but I can totally see how, like, that, like, tiny difference, how much that makes. Like, KK talks about that, too. Like, where do I spend my time? Like, and you have to be so intentional about it because you don't get a ton of it at this moment in your life. And, of course, that'll come back in the future. But, like, this is very, like, your time is so precious right now. So I get that.
Well, even though she wasn't there with me at Target today, she was there. I literally got baby spoons, purees, diapers, wipes, a nose Frida.
Oh.
It's this suction device for when they have colds. You
I've heard of them.
saline and you're like...
Ooh,
you're like
so disgusting,
boogers.
but fun at the same time. It's kind of satisfying.
Yeah, it really is. So, like, everything... And then I was like, oh, look, I got you some clothes on clearance.
Did you get yourself anything?
No.
Yeah. I had a feeling that was going to be the answer.
No.
But that's just how your brain's wired.
I almost got myself Starbucks.
And you talked yourself out of it?
Yeah. Yeah, that's... I don't know. I've been trying to work on the diet, too. That's another thing. I'm like, because, like, my cirrhosis deal, I'm like, my liver's not what it used to be. Can't order Papa John's and dip it in the garlic butter every weekend, like...
Yeah, maybe not every weekend. But, like, once a month. Twice a month.
Yeah.
Papa J's
I'm
with
like,
that
I
garlic
have to
butter is so
eat
good.
So much boring stuff now.
There's ways to find fun food, I'm sure.
Oh, I mean,
It just takes so much effort.
It does, and it's just money.
I know, right?
Yeah.
Is it hard keeping up with everything as a single mom? Or, like, yeah. What do you think is the most, like, challenging?
Just taking the time to actually just slow down and do it.
Yeah.
Like, after the holidays and during, like, maybe, like, the week leading up to it, I was like, you know, my place is just kind of a mess right now. I need to do this. I kept saying it and saying it until just, what was it, Thursday? Yeah. I think it was, no, maybe it was Friday. I can't remember, but it was like, I just kept putting it off and putting it off and putting it off and doing, like, maybe a load of laundry here and there, but I finally, it was like, okay, I'm gonna clean, I'm gonna get it all done, and I finally got it done, and I'm like, that could have been so much easier if I just did it each day, like, if instead of just throwing this here and saying I'll get to it later, if I did it now.
Yeah.
And you naturally, like, I've learned for me, like, being anxiety and, like, an anxious person and stuff, like, the better off my place looks, the more calm and at peace I feel now.
I'm the same way. But there's days where you can't do that, and that's okay, too. Like, we are human beings, and you have a lot on your plate, so if the dishes don't get done, who cares?
Yeah.
You know? Like, you can only do so much, and you have to prioritize yourself first. Like, you need time to relax. You need time to just focus on other things. Like, cleaning, it'll get done eventually. So,
yeah,
but I get it.
That cleaning needed to happen.
You said
I was appalled.
What? Space on memory card. Oh my gosh! Hold on. What would you share with anyone, like, going through, like, maybe thinking about taking the step to become a single mom, or maybe scared? Like, what are some pros and cons that you can say about your experience?
Yeah. Well, I would say first and foremost, look at your situation, like, as a whole. Always put your baby first. Well, put yourself first,
yes,
and then put your baby there, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, like, if it's not a good situation for you, chances are, no, not even chances are, it's not going to be a good situation for your child either. Yes. Put yourself first, because naturally your child will follow suit. Like, your child and you are a package deal.
Yeah.
So if you are in emotional turmoil being with someone that's not treating you well or who's abusing you, taking you for granted. Like, whether you're co-parent or lack of, like, if they're gonna be in the picture or not, like, if you need to be separate, live separate, or completely, like, disassociate yourself from them, do it. You might have to, go through the courts and figure out some logistics, but do it. Like, take those first steps. Talk to whatever friends, resources you can. I mean, there's domestic abuse hotlines. There's so many resources out there. There's county assistance, state assistance. Yeah. I mean, programs that you can go to, food shelves, I mean, housing assistance, like...
And there's no shame in using that help.
There's not.
Yeah, that's
really
what it's there for.
And I mean, it's just, you really need to do it for yourself and for your baby or child. Because for me, I saw the person that I was with Charlotte's dad, and I didn't like who I was with him. I didn't like... the fact that I was talking to you, like, I was sacrificing my own values and morals and things that I thought were really important to me in my life just to keep the peace even. And I feel like there's some things in a relationship that are just, there's compromise, but then there's some things that are just non-negotiable. Like, totally. And I don't want my child to grow up in a household where there's most likely going to be a lot of yelling or, head games between mom and dad or whatever your situation is, the adults in the house. Like, they need to see healthy relationships, and they need to see people who can communicate, because, I mean, they're learning, like, and these things really affect them.
At an early age.
Yeah, and I mean, leaving my daughter's father and taking the steps that I did to keep him out of our lives for now has been the best decision I've ever made. And, naturally, like, things all kind of they're just falling into place. And I feel like I received so much support even after, like, leaving him. Like, it wasn't as lonely as I thought it was going to be.
The idea of it was scarier than the actual reality. Yeah. That happens to me. Yeah. Wow.
You can spend your whole life, or you can spend so many years, months, days, weeks, whatever, like, saying, what if? But until you do it, like, you'll never know. Yeah. And finding yourself and happiness within yourself is really a great thing. And it's a great lesson and something that you can teach to your child.
Yeah. You're going to be a better mother because of it. Because you are choosing to put your happiness first. Like, obviously your kid is always going to, like, their needs will always come first. But mentally you have to put yourself first, or you can't show up in the way that you need to for them.
You need it. Put your oxygen mask on before you assist the child.
Airplane rules apply. Yeah. Oh, that's really good advice. Yeah.
That's how I was feeling. Like, I was such a mess when I was with her dad. Like, constantly just crying and upset and nervous. Like, and come to think of it, I'm like, my baby really was crying a lot more. And I, like, hate to admit it, but, like, when I was with her dad, like, she cried a lot more than she does now. And, like,
she probably felt that tension. Like, babies, they're human beings. They pick up on this stuff. Like, they may not be able to verbally express it, but they can feel that tension. And she's so connected to you. Yeah. She probably felt how much stress you were under.
Yeah. And at that point, it's like, I don't know. I just saw the situation as, like, not moving forward. It was just complacent, and not even complacent. Like, it was, like, at a steady, like, decline. And I just felt like the lease was ending soon at our place. I had enough resources and I had enough things put in place where I was like, all right, it's time to get moving, get out. I had my parents' blessing. They definitely helped me. I mean, and there's no shame in asking people for help. No. Not everyone gets it. I understand that. But, I mean, do anything that you can to find your way out and create a place of peace for yourself. I mean,
don't let your pride get in the way of your blessings. I get that.
Yeah, and I mean, naturally, like, since getting out, I feel like I've had to ask my parents for less and less as I've gone. So
look at that.
Yeah, that's been really good.
What are some of like the benefits? Because obviously in an ideal world, I know you would raise your family or raise your child in a family, like in an ideal perfect world. That wasn't the case, but you chose better for yourself. So what are like the benefits of that you've been experiencing?
Well, I mean, obviously, like, everyone loves to think that they're right. Well, I'm like, you know, naturally,
Can't relate.
being someone who works in childcare, like, child rearing is solely my job. I don't need to hear any other person's opinion. Well, I mean, don't get me wrong. I will listen to other people's advice, especially if I'm asking for it. You know, I appreciate that, but at the end of the day, I'm mom, and my apartment is mine. You can leave your shoes at the door. These are my rules. And if you don't like how I do it, well, then that's just tough shit.
Yeah,
this is my daughter, and this is me, and this is how I'm gonna do it. So
I love that. That is definitely, I'm sure, a perk, especially because the person you were trying to co-parent with. So, so that is a nice perk. Is there anything else?
I mean, naturally, as a parent, like, you know, I'm gonna be the favorite. Whatever happens,
that's
like,
true.
If they do end up forming a relationship later on, and I'm sure she'll have questions, and I'm open to that in the future, especially if it's for her sake, like, and she wants to know, that's different. But I'm like, you know, we get that time together, even though I'm working full time and I don't get to be with her all day. Like, at the end of the day, like, knowing that tiny little person, like, depends on me and smiles at me when I come to get her at the end of the day, like, she's in another room too where I work. So
I was gonna ask if she's at the same place. Oh, I love that.
Love
that.
But at the end of the day, I'm like, hi baby, and then she smiles and she knows it's me. So I mean, that is so rewarding in itself, and it's like no one will have that with her except for me. Yeah, that is like priceless at the end of the day. So,
do you want any more kids?
Sorry, Mom. I think I want at least one more.
Someday. One more?
Yeah, she's like, you're gonna kill yourself.
Because of the health complications.
She's like, no. She's like, you barely made it out of this one, and I'm like, it's fine. Not wrong person, because Charlotte was meant to be here.
Yeah. But I think sometimes the body rejects the body knows, so maybe it was just the wrong person, like, for another experience. And I feel like you deserve a smoother motherhood experience, because I feel like you're such a dedicated, like, you care, you're such a loving mom, and I want you to have a better experience in that first one.
Yeah, I'm like, heck, like, when Charlie gets a little older, I mean, if I don't find me a good man, maybe I'll just find a good sperm donor.
People are doing it. Hell yeah. Or even you could do would you ever do
a knock me up party or something?
What is it? I've never heard of that. What's a knock me up party? And where can I sign up?
I feel like that sounds really bad.
Do you get invitations? Do we bring our own sperm? Like, what? How does that work? No, I was thinking of a surrogate. That's the word.
Oh, a surrogate. Like, surrogate. Would I want someone else to carry a baby for me?
If you were afraid of health conditions.
Oh, no. I mean, just the financial cost of that is so out of this world.
True.
I don't. It's hard to say. Like, I think if I was like with another partner who wanted to, you know, invest in something like that, I would think differently. But like for myself, no.
Yeah. No, I get it. It's not for everyone.
I would already feel like so. I think alone. Or not alone. Like, I think I would already feel some type of way about not being able to carry the baby that I'm going to be raising. But then also to, like, do it single, I'm like...
Yeah.
I just can't see myself feeling like that bond, maybe. But that's just me personally.
Yeah, everyone's different. Some people it'll work for. But I think about that, too. I'm like, there's so much joy in, like, growing the baby and that relationship you build by like literally giving that child life. I'm sure it would be hard to replace, but for some people that it works for, it's a beautiful option, but it's not for everyone.
And honestly, like, I was one of those pregnant women, like, where some people I've heard are like, oh, I hate when people talk about how big I am. Like, people would be like, whoa, like you like blew up over the last week. And I'm like, thank you.
Yes, the baby's growing.
I liked it when people talked about my belly. I was like, okay.
I think I'll like being pregnant because it's like the one time you get treated so nice when you're pregnant.
You do. I shit you not. Like, I would be in a public place and there would be like a group of smokers and like they would kind of just casually step back and blow the other way. And I'm like, peasants.
Yes, exactly as you should.
Pregnant walking through.
Are you good? Do you need your feet rubbed? Do you need any food? Like,
Yeah.
everyone just caters
Or like
to.
being in people's way in the store. Like, you just do like a quick 90-degree turn and people would be like, here, I'll move. And I'm like,
Yes, you will.
peasants.
Also, like, you don't have to care about getting bigger. Like,
Yeah.
the one time in our lives as women where we don't have the pressure to,
I know.
like, be skinny, we're supposed to grow.
I know, like, and I mean, even like in the hospital too, like, I fell asleep with ice cream in my lap a couple nights. Like,
Hell yeah.
That was great.
You said a few of the nights, to be honest. Okay, my final question to you is, what is your favorite part about being Charlotte's mom?
Oh, my favorite part? That's so tricky.
I know.
Oh
Or
my
name
God,
a
I'm
few.
like, where do I start?
You could name a few.
I think my favorite part is just knowing that it's just this unique bond that I have with her. Like, it sounds really corny, but like her being my daughter, like I'm not gonna have that bond with any other person.
Mm-hmm.
And whether or not I have another child or not, like she's like my baby, like my firstborn baby, whatever, like however you want to put it, like that's like my flesh and blood. And like I knew I wanted her from the second that I knew she was in me. And I don't know, like I'm a great mom, and I love being her mom, and I love watching her like with those milestones and seeing her smile and like hearing like the first time she had like that belly laugh, like
Yeah.
she does a lot when I like kiss her neck, and it's like
Oh.
I can't even do it. It's so cute, but like
That's so sweet.
yeah, like it's just the most rewarding feeling, and just seeing her happy and healthy, like I don't know, like I can't wait to see what's to come, like
Yeah.
because I mean the older she gets, like she'll really start becoming like her own little person with like her own identity and like her own personality, and like it's like I can't believe it's like already almost 8 months. The favorite, I don't know, I can't even sum it up. I think it's just being her mom is just overall, it's just a really wonderful experience. It's out of this world, and I've never known a love like the love that I have for her. Like, and everyone says it, like, but until like I had like my baby, like it's something else. Like I remember like giving birth to her too, and like hearing her cry like in the room, and I was like, it's like, is that her? Like, is that my baby? And I'm like, of course it's your baby.
But like, yeah, it's so surreal.
Like,
Oh, Carol.
and seeing her, like, yeah.
Oh.
That bond. Yeah. She's just mine, and I don't know. It's such a hard question.
No, I think you answered it perfectly.
Yeah.
I think, well, I want to say I'm just so proud of you. I know we like went our own separate paths, but to hear your story and to hear how well you're doing and everything that you've overcome, like, I want you to know how incredible you are, like, for real. Like, you are so strong. You are so resilient. And, like, Charlotte is so lucky to have you as your mom. Like, what an example to look up to, for real. Like, life is going to throw us so many curves, and she gets to see the strongest person raising her.
It's sink or swim.
And you swam, baby! You an Olympic swimmer in there, Michael Phelps!
I know.
No, you're doing, I'm so happy that we reconnected, and I'm excited to
know.
finally meet Charlotte!
I know.
And all the things, and like watch her grow up too now. Like, hopefully, I mean, I plan to stay in contact with you, obviously.
Yeah.
So I'm excited
What is
just
she
to see
gonna
what's to
be a
come.
cheerleader?
I will give her privates. I'll teach her tumbling, whatever you want. For the free. You got it all. You said heard it here first.
Plant spirit over here.
I will. I mean, I coached for a little bit, so I know a thing or two. But
Yeah.
that'd be cute if she was in cheer, full circle.
I know. I gotta get her started on dance technique, gymnastics.
Yes. Flexibility, stretcher.
Yeah.
Charlotte, did you stretch today? Did you do your 20 minutes of splits today?
We work on the stretches. I'm like, I take her feet and I put them in her mouth for her because she's like, she still has to learn that skill. But I'll like take her feet and put it in her mouth, and she's like,
now point your toes.
point.
Oh, well, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
Oh my God, no, seriously, this is such a good episode, and I think so many women that listen to this are going to be able to relate. So, thank you for sharing.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Bye!